Let's make the templates for project 1. The template sheet is from the back of the book, and I've already cut out template A and template B. Next, what we need to do is transfer that template onto the gridded template plastic. Make sure that you line it up using the grid and draw a line across the top as accurately as possible. Then you want to cut on that line. I'm going to use small scissors so that I can be very accurate on the peaks and valleys. When you're finished cutting that, you'll have both template A and B if you've cut it correctly. If you haven't, you can always take template B and put it on another sheet of plastic and recut it. Once you have your two templates cut, this is what you're going to use to start cutting your ribbons for your ribbon work project 1. Let's discuss the 2 stitches we're going to do for project 1 in the ribbon work project. The first one is basting. Basting stitches are typically used to put 2 pieces of fabric together in a temporary way, and typically at the end of the project they're taken out. Get your needle and thread ready. Make sure that you have a knot at the end, and you're simply going to go up and down through your thread fabric about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch length stitches. Make sure that you go through both layers. And in this particular case, I have a center line that I'm stitching on that will be used to guide our ribbons. Once you've reached the end of your piece of materials, you're going to knot it so that this basting doesn't come out. It is temporary, but you do want to be able to hold it in there in the meantime. So I'm going to just wrap the needle around a couple times, bring it through and hold that knot with my thumb, and then just pull it through. Cut it off, and then you're already set to go. On the other side, there's your basting line to line up your ribbons. The second stitch you need for ribbon work is a hem stitch. This is the stitch you're going to use to actually sew the ribbons down onto the base or the entire piece. Make sure you prepare your needle and thread and that there's a secure knot in the end, and line up your ribbon on your base fabric. I'm going to start on the back, and I want to go through this interfacing just a couple times near the end to secure that knot so it doesn't pull through. And then I'm going to go back up through the 2 layers and come out just on the wool for this first stitch. What I'm going to do next is just grab the very end of that ribbon with my needle where it comes up at and pull it through. So the next stitch goes down parallel to where you came up. Stitches are typically about 1/8 of an inch long, and I'm going to come back up on the very edge of that ribbon. So what you're going to see is very little of the stitch. Now for this demonstration, I'm using white thread so that it's contrasting to what I'm actually sewing. Typically you should use a red thread for this red ribbon. The first thing you're going to get to on this pattern is what I would consider a valley. And what you want to do is make sure that you come right up on that valley so that it stays in place. Then go right back down and start your next stitch. And continue on with your stitches, keeping them as evenly as possible. The key is to take only a small part of that ribbon on the end. The next detail you want to pay attention to on ribbon work is the peaks. Like the valleys, you want to make sure that you finish a stitch right at that point to hold it in place. The peaks and valleys, generally speaking, are what line up your ribbon work. Once you've made your peak, you can continue stitching back down that diamond. Now that we're nearing the end of our ribbon, we're going to stop about 1/4 inch from the edge and then put a knot in the end. This is my last stitch. I'm going to go back through all the way to the bottom. Make a knot. And like we did in the beginning, I'm going to just back stitch this a couple times, a couple random stitches, just to make sure that knot doesn't pull out. So now you know the 2 stitches you need to complete this ribbon work project: the basting stitch and a hem stitch.